Hey friends, welcome back. So here is another video for anybody that's high risk or wants to know why I am high risk. First off, I've had 2 pregnancies that were premature deliveries, and third, because of my age. So if you're pregnant over 35, you have to have a lot of tests done. I'm 39. I'm gonna be 40 when this baby is born. So because I'll still be pregnant. So, yeah, that's what makes me high risk. So, first off, all right, so if you don't know, and it was so funny, I got all these questions about Isaac. I have a 19-year-old, almost 20-year-old son. Isaac was born at 28 weeks and 3 days, which was super, super early. I actually went into labor with him. I think I was 5 months when I went into labor, and I was already dilated like 2 centimeters. So I had a horrible pregnancy. I did not feel any pains or anything as far as like contractions or anything. They started at 5 months, but it was so small I didn't even know it was a contraction. Went to the doctor, found out that I was dilated 2 centimeters. So I was immediately put on bed rest, and I spent over a month in the hospital on bed rest. I was rushed by ambulance. It was like really dramatic. Isaac came out weighing 2 pounds 1 ounce. He was itty bitty. I did not think Isaac was going to make it, and at that time I was a super young mom, so I did not understand anything. First, I didn't know anything about being a mom. Second of all, I had no clue about, excuse me, I burp a lot, but it's not my fault. I had no clue about premature babies. I mean, I knew nothing. All I knew is that I was 19, about to be 20. I was actually 20 when he was born. 20 when he was born, and he was just like so small. So I had an emergency C-section because the day that I was actually supposed to get discharged from the hospital was December 30th, 1998. The doctor came in and he told me that he wasn't going to let me go. And I just immediately started crying. And he said, I just don't feel right. And I was like, but it was already set. So my birthday is December 15th. So I spent my birthday, Christmas, New Year's, all of that in the hospital. And so my mom came, and I was just crying, and my mom ended up leaving and going home. I was always on the monitor. So they put me on the monitor, and then all of a sudden they couldn't find his heart rate. And so my mom had left and went home, and the doctor came back and they said, we're going to do emergency C-section. They thought the cord was wrapped around his neck. So my mom gets home. As soon as my mom gets home, I called. Like, she had literally just walked in the door. She's like, what's wrong? And I was like, I'm going to have a C-section. They're prepping me now. She's like, I'm on my way. So if you're in Houston, I was in the medical center. My mom lived in Katy. So that's a long drive. So my mom had literally just got home, like walked in the door, and they rushed, my mom and my stepdad rushed back out. So, all right. Isaac ended up not having the cord around his neck, but I think they said that my uterus was, something was wrong with my uterus. I don't remember. But anyways, he came out and he was 2 pounds 1 ounce, and then he ended up, hold on. So Isaac was taken to the NICU, and I didn't see him for like a week. I can't remember. But when I went to go see him, he was hooked up to all of these machines. I mean, Isaac had tubes coming out of everywhere. His nose, his stomach, his neck, his head. They shaved his head and everything because he had to have all, I mean, it was just crazy. It was a lot for me to see. All right, so Isaac made it. He only coded 1 time, which meant that he stopped breathing. He was supposed to be born in March. I think Isaac's due date was March 18th, and he was discharged from the hospital March 16th. He was actually born New Year's Eve, December 31st. So Isaac spent 3 months in the hospital. So when he came home with oxygen because he couldn't breathe and suck a bottle on his own, and also with a heart monitor to make sure that he was always breathing. So I had all of that for about the first 6 months, I think. And so 7 years later, here I am down the line, and I'm pregnant with Ava. So Isaac is completely fine. He was fine. He did have asthma as a child, but it wasn't like terrible. Ava was actually really worse with asthma, and Tupi is actually the worst. So 7 years later, here I am. Like I said, Isaac's totally fine. You wouldn't even know that he was a preemie. I mean, he's fine, health-wise. There's nothing wrong with him. So, 7 years later, I'm pregnant with Ava. So my goal is I want to make it past 28 weeks and 3 days. So 28 weeks and 3 days comes. I'm happy. I wake up. I'm like, I made it. Like, I didn't go into labor. Boom. That night, I went into labor and started contracting. So I was like, damn. I thought I made it because I just wanted to get past 28 weeks. So I ended up going to the hospital the next day, finding out that I was a centimeter dilated, put on bed rest in the hospital. I was there for a month. Thankfully, I was further along, so I didn't have to go downtown. I was lucky. I was able to stay local at my hospital with my doctor. Hold on, I'm thirsty. So I was put on bed rest to stop contractions. I was having contractions, but they weren't like, I don't know what contractions feel like for people that like push babies out. I don't know, because I never experienced childbirth because my children were C-sections, so I don't know what it feels like to have like these terrible painful contractions. But I did have them enough to where I knew that this wasn't right and they're hurting, but it wasn't like people that scream. I could take the pain. So with Ava, I stayed in the hospital for 3.5 weeks almost, or maybe a month. And again, I was on bed rest, and they were able to stop my contractions. Of course, I got all of these steroids and things like that. They were able to stop them. And by this time, I was 32 weeks and they let me go home. Everything was fine. So I go home. With Ava, I was super big. Like, I was huge. Everybody thought I was having twins. I was just like a pumpkin. Like, I was so big. And then, anyways, I went home. I was discharged. I think I stayed for a month. I was discharged. I went home. The next day, I went to the doctor for a follow-up. Boom. At the doctor's office, my blood pressure was like 160 or 180 over 100. They're like, excuse me, go to the hospital. Do not go home. Go to the hospital right now. I'm like, okay. So little did I know, I had been seeing spots, but I had no idea that it was because my blood pressure was high. So now here I am in the hospital, and the doctor's deciding if he's going to take the baby early because, you know, my blood pressure was super high and they were able to get it down. And at this point, I was just so drained. I was so tired of being pregnant. I was like, I just want her out. And the next day I had a C-section, and Ava came out, and Ava was 3 pounds and 15 ounces. Ava did really good in the hospital. She only stayed in a NICU for 3 weeks, and it was only because she needed to gain weight. So I had 2 pregnancies where both kids were born for 2 separate reasons. Isaac was because they thought the cord was wrapped around his neck, and it wasn't. Ava was because I had high blood pressure. And so currently right now I actually take a aspirin every day, and that helps with the blood pressure. So I take a bare aspirin coated, I think it's 81 milligrams. I take it every day, and it helps with your blood pressure when you're pregnant. So we're preventing that. And I also get Makena Injections. So Makena Injections, I have a nurse that comes to my house every Saturday, and she gives me my injection. They send them. It's so convenient. Like, I don't have to go to the doctor once a week. The nurse just comes to my house every week and gives it to me. They deliver the medicine like I think they UPS or FedEx it to my doorstep, and they give me a month's supply at a time. And then so I just leave it in the box, and then every time the nurse comes, she just takes it out. And so I get them in my hip. They're not painful. Like, I tried to research it and look it up, but I couldn't find a lot of information on YouTube whenever I was looking it up. And so what it does is it helps you go at least to 37 weeks. You stop the injections right before your 37th week. And so it helps you to not dilate and not, I would say, not have contractions. And so what I saw was some people that once they got their last injection, that next week they ended up having their baby. And those were the high risk moms, you know, in my situation, where they had already had a baby that was premature. So if I make it to 38 weeks, that's a blessing to me. I'm happy. And so this is a big reason. Like, everybody's like, well, you didn't answer my question. When's your due date? When's your due date? To me, the due date doesn't matter. I'm due in 2019. I don't want people counting down my due date, because if you've ever been in my situation where you've had premature kids, like, it's the worst thing ever. And I just don't want another baby in the NICU where I have to go constantly back and forth to the hospital. It's very, very draining. You cry, you're scared, you're worried. So that is my due date is like the only thing I can like keep to myself. And it's just, I've never had a kid on my due date. So to me, the due date never, ever, ever, ever matters. Hold on one second. I don't know what that little girl was doing, singing or something. So anyways, the due date to me just, it's not important because I've never had a kid on the due date. So that's why I'm like, I don't want people like counting down my due date or like, oh, you're almost there. No, I don't want that. I don't want anybody jinxing me, anything. That's one thing I can keep to myself. I just want to keep it to myself. So 2019 is my due date. That I purposely didn't answer that question because for me, I'm just trying to make it, and I'm doing really well. Knock on wood. I'm doing good so far. I have been in the hospital once already for Braxton Hicks contractions, but found out I had a bladder infection. That's why I was having contractions. Super early. They just take my breath away. And so I'm being monitored. I've been having them for like 3 days. So, but I'm not dilated, thank God. And my cervix is fine. But I'm just having contractions. So I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I hope they don't admit me. But since my other kids were preemies, I'm a high risk patient. So with that being said, I'm being monitored, and I'll let y'all know what happens. But I don't even know when this video is going to go up. But I am just updating my pregnancy vlog. And right there was one of my contractions. It's really weird. I don't know why I was getting these bladder infections. I've already had like 3 of them, and I don't understand why. Because if you saw how much water I drank, it is absolutely ridiculous. And I know people are going to be like, it's because you drink so much soda. Negative. I did not drink any soda in the beginning. Like, I could only drink water. Like, my body would only let me tolerate water. I could not drink any soda, no juice. I couldn't drink anything. Like, I had every symptom possible. And I'm a spitter. So some people are like, what's a spitter? Well, I literally walked around with a cup, put napkins in it, and I spit. If you are a spitter, you feel my pain. Like, it is the most disgusting thing ever. I had a spit cup at work, in my car, in Boothang's car. Like, I didn't go nowhere without a spit cup. And when I didn't want people to figure out that I was pregnant, because in my family and where I'm from, if you spit and they know you're pregnant, I would eat sunflower seeds all the time because that was my excuse for spitting into a cup. I thought that out. So, and I chewed a lot of gum, and I'm normally not a gum chewer. Like, I just don't chew gum. So, yeah, so I had every single symptom. But anyway, so yeah, I was in the hospital already for Braxton Hicks. They were coming a lot, and it was like it wasn't like painful to where I would cry. It was painful to where it literally took my breath away for 15 seconds, and then I would just like, and it'd be over. And so, but like I said, that was because I had an infection. Like bladder infections are very common during pregnancy, and like I said, I've had 3 of them, so I've had to be on antibiotics, and there's no explanation why. Like, I just don't understand it. I don't know if it's because of my soaps. Like, I just can't explain it. But other than that, like, everything has been going good. Like, if I make it to my last injection, I'm extremely happy. If I make it past my injection date, I'm blessed. So my goal now is to make it past 32 weeks in 3 days, because like I said, Isaac was 28 weeks in 3 days. Ava was 32 weeks in 3 days. I don't know why I have the 3 days on those 2 kids. And so my goal is to make it past, the 32 week mark. But I was talking to my nurse yesterday, and she's like, you're doing, really good. Everything seems to be going well. So I'm really happy and thankful for these Makena injections. They don't really hurt. I mean, they kind of just like sting, but a lot of people were saying like they itch, and the site is painful. Like, I get it in one hip one week, the next week I get it in the other hip. And so, like, I don't have any issues with mine, knock on wood. They don't itch. It's just like getting like a regular shot. And I don't have any issues afterwards or any side effects. Like, I don't get sick or anything like that. So I read that some people do, but I'm fortunate and I don't. Like, I haven't had any reactions, and hopefully I won't. My body is taking it well, and like I said, it's very convenient. And another thing is that my insurance covers it 100%, so that's a really good thing. And then another thing was being over 35. I read a comment that was like, why did you have so many blood tests? So like, when you're over 35, you have a higher risk of having babies with birth defects. So I did all of the testing to make sure that everything was okay, like Down syndrome. You have an ultrasound to make sure that the baby's spine is okay, the heart is okay. You just check everything. And so I'm very fortunate and very thankful that everything came back good. I'm doing good. Everything was fine with my blood test. Everything was normal. And that is another way that I ended up finding out about the sex, because when they were doing all of those blood tests, I think I had like 9 or 10 tubes of blood drawn when they were doing all of those tests. It was a lot. I was like, I don't know if I had. At one point, I was looking like a junkie. Like, it was bad. My arms were so messed up when they did the blood test. And so when they called me to give the results, the sex of the baby was there. And so that's why they call and tell you the results. Because if you don't want to know the gender, they won't send it through like online, because we do everything online. It's like a patient portal, so you can get all of your blood results there. But yeah, so everything came back negative. Everything is going smooth. with him, her, them, they. Everybody's like, are you having twins? I'm like, I don't know. I might be. Maybe. I don't know. We didn't expect my cousin or my sister to have them. Like I read some of the comments. It was so funny in my last video. Everybody's like, oh, she's giving us a sign. Her shirt has girl on it and it says pink. I'm like, I didn't even realize that. That was the first shirt that I grabbed because all my clothes are still in boxes. I just started hanging them up yesterday. I thought it was so funny. I was like, I didn't even realize that. I just grabbed the first shirt that would fit over my stomach that I could put on. Because my YouTube shirt, because you guys, if you see me wear my gray YouTube shirt, I like wearing it if I'm doing a video, but it totally doesn't fit anymore, like at all. So yeah, so those are the reasons that I am high risk. And so I am closely watched, like with my my blood pressure and stuff like that. My blood pressure has been really good. I take also vitamin D because my vitamin D was really low. So I take a vitamin D pill. I take a Flintstone vitamin. I used to take progesterone in the very beginning and it was awful. Like if you've ever had progesterone, it makes you so bloated. And my level was really, really low. So they were trying to increase it. So I had to take those. I think it was twice a day. I was so ready to stop them pills. Like I was miserable taking those. And so I don't take those anymore, but I take the vitamin D, my Flintstone vitamin, my Bear aspirin. I feel like I take something else, but I can't remember what. I don't know. I throw them in my purse and I just take them. I'll take a Tylenol here and there because you can take Tylenol. Like if I feel like whenever I was I can't remember. Why did I take Tylenol? I don't remember. Something was hurting. Oh, was it? It was before I found out I had bladder infection, I think. My back was hurting or something, and they told me that I could take extra strength Tylenol, and then come to find out like 2 days later I found out I had a bladder infection. But yeah, and so some people also asked me like, what did I take for nausea? I take Zofran. That's what I took for nausea. I took it faithfully. Like when I would get dehydrated, I'd straight up go to the ER. I'm like, I need a bag of IV fluids and please give me some Zofran. I need it so bad. And they were like, well, I know the drill. So if you have been in the hospital for dehydration, you understand that. But dehydration, you just basically, you can't stop throwing up. You're throwing up so much and like you can't even keep water down. And so you go in and you get your fluids, and when they put that Zofran in your arm, you're like, oh, you feel like you're getting a hit. I don't know what it feels like to get a hit of something, but as a pregnant person, you get that Zofran, you're like, oh yeah, come to mama. And then you walk out of the freaking ER feeling like $1,000,000 because they dragged you in there, but you can walk out after you get fluids back in your system. And then 3 weeks later, here we go, same thing. So yeah, so hopefully this answers some questions about my high risk and everything like that. So I'm just trying to make it past that 32-week mark. That is my goal. But like I said, I get the Makena injections up until my 37th week. And then, yeah, after that, for me, it's smooth sailing because, whew, let me tell y'all, baby daddy is 6'5", okay? I'm a small girl. I'm 5'1", okay? So this belly is big. You know why? Because Boothang is 6'5". So imagine what's going on inside of here. It's a lot. It's a lot. 6'5", y'all. 6'5". I come up to like his stomach, okay? 5 feet and 6'5". Ava's already a giant. Ava's freaking 5'4" or 5'5". Her dad's only 6'1", 6 feet, 6'1". So I was already like humongous, like a pumpkin with her, and everybody's like, "Oh, you look so cute." Yeah, I'm waiting for that pumpkin face to come and that swollen nose. In my family, everybody that gets pregnant, our noses get so big. I ain't got to that point yet, and I don't starve myself because I eat everything. But I know that pumpkin face and that big fat nose is coming, and that's okay because I'm gonna embrace my fatness. I'm gonna embrace all of it. I don't care. I don't care if I weigh 300 pounds. I'm gonna eat and I'm gonna be happy. And I ain't rushing to lose no weight afterwards. I ain't snapping back nothing. I'ma just be happy. So with that being said, yeah, hopefully this answers some questions. And thank y'all so much for all the love. So this covers my high risk. This covers my Makena. I guess next up, the gender. Pink, blue, or both. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I love you to the moon back.